Hey everyone, me Kevin here. In this video, we're going to talk about how America keeps you poor, and we're going to start with point zero, which is obviously that America doesn't teach you about this. That's because even though I ran for it when I ran for governor in California and ran for the idea that we should have financial education in schools, we don't. So point number one is don't feel bad as to why America keeps you poor. It's the way the game has been rigged. It's been designed to keep you uninformed for ways to either build your wealth or to maximize the money that you have left over. So let's talk about in this video at least 5 principles that you should be really incorporating into your life. I would almost recommend all of these. And I have to be careful when I say the word recommend because even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, this video is obviously not personalized financial advice for you, but these are principles that I think everybody should value incorporating into their lives. So number 1 has to do with taxes. Let me give you a trick, and then I'll show you one that's applicable to pretty much everyone. But I invested about $4,000 into many years ago into this thing called an HSA, a health savings account. And that let me prevent paying income taxes on any of that gain. It's kind of like a retirement account, right? That account grew to about $90,000. With that $90,000, we're now able to pay for a surrogate who's carrying 2 of our children. Now, what's amazing is, while I took a tax deduction going into that account, usually you have to pay taxes when you take money out of a retirement account, right? Now with the health savings account. The health savings account, I'm able to withdraw that $90,000, almost all of it being gains, and not pay taxes again. That's a really niche example of how to play the game. You could learn more about HSAs. You have to have a high deductible health plan by going to betkevin.com/HSA. But it's just an example. That's a paid sponsorship, by the way. That's just an example. Now, here's one that's much more practical that pretty much everybody can take advantage of. Many of us will spend money on Christmas gifts for ourselves or holiday trips or tools that make our lives more productive. Some of those tools could be things like Apple headphones. These are quite expensive. They're about $499 plus taxes. But let's go with the idea that these are $499 and just ignore sales taxes for a moment. Just to keep math simple, we'll call it $500. Well, if you generally pay an average of 30% in income taxes, in order for you to afford these $500 headphones, you would have to earn about $713 to have $500 left to buy those headphones. However, if you're an entrepreneur, even if you're also employed somewhere and you have a reasonable expectation to make money in your business, your side hustle, then you could buy these for $500 and it only costs you $500. That's because you are able to write off this product as potentially a business expense, as long as it seemed necessary and ordinary, that makes you more productive at your job. As long as that job you're writing it off for is not a hobby and has a reasonable expectation of profits in the future, you can now write off things that maybe otherwise you wouldn't have been able to write off, which could be a computer that you use for work, but maybe you game on at night. Maybe it's headphones to keep you more productive. Maybe it's a new laptop or an iPad, so that way when you're on the go and you want to watch movies or Netflix that you've downloaded or whatever on a plane, you can do that, but you also use it for work. Hey, if your primary purpose is work, a lot of people say, great, necessary and ordinary business expense. The trick, it's not even really a trick, it's just knowing about it, it's totally legitimate, is making sure that you have some kind of business that you could write off expenses against. Generally, the IRS wants to see that you're actually able to earn money from this business. So what do a lot of people do? Well, a lot of people, they might have their full-time job and they become a real estate agent. And even if they just sell one property every couple years, could be to their friends, their family, or whatever, they're able to write off potentially tens of thousands of dollars in additional expenses they wouldn't have otherwise been able to write off. What's another example of a relatively simple license that you could get, study hard for it, and you can get? Would be a registered investment advisor license. Hey, maybe you provide financial advisory services to some friends or family, you collect some revenue, and even if you're losing money, you're able to write off business expenses as long as you have an expectation of profit from that business. The big differentiation is it a hobby or are you doing it for work? The cool thing now is you could be an employee, and let's say you're an employee at Apple making $200,000 a year. You want to go buy a $5,000 gaming laptop, you're not able to write that off. Now, if that laptop happens to primarily be used for your side hustle real estate agent business, and you happen to game on it later in the day, there's a potential argument to be made that that laptop was necessary and ordinary for your business, and you, on the side, happen to also use it for playing games, but now that laptop maybe cost you 30 to 40% less. Because now, when you pay that $5,000, you're actually basically paying 30 to 40% less in taxes, which could be around $1,500 to $2,000 less. Obviously, every time we talk about taxes, it's important to consult your CPA. Now, you can go extreme with these sort of tax write-offs. If you happen to be a real estate agent who's deemed to be a real estate professional, you can actually do something known as cost segregate your properties. You could buy a $3 million building and take a $1 million potentially write-off in the first year of your ownership as a real estate professional. Now, those are specific and more niche tax deductions, but the point is, they're all around you. Why do you think some folks like to get larger Sprinter vans or heavier electric vehicles like the EV Hummer or larger Tesla electric vehicles like the Model X? Well, a lot of these have bonus depreciation that allow you to accelerate your depreciation, basically take more write-offs after you purchase them. The big purpose of saying all of this is, the more you open your eyes to, okay, as an employee, maybe I'm not going to get all the tax benefits as I could, or that I could, but if I had a side hustle, even if it was just a side hustle I was making a few $1,000s, I'm now able to unlock writing off all the other things I might want to buy that I could use in my business and otherwise as well. That's great. That unlocks massive opportunity for you to minimize your tax burden. And this is something we don't learn about in school.
Hey, do you want more perspective from me? Take a look at this. I now offer licensed financial advice with my team. You can go to stackhack.com to get stacked with StackHack, personal wealth plan and stock fundamental analysis at stackhack.com. That's licensed personal financial advice, so you'll sign an advisory agreement with us. My real estate startup at househack.com, and of course, our favorite courses on investing, 0 to millionaire real estate investing, stocks and psychology of money, making more money with how to get SH9T done. That's LLCs, insurance, business expansion, being an employee and making more money, property management. We can manage your rentals and renovate them better, save money here. You get lifetime access to these courses and live streams. If you want some more limited financial advice, but actual financial advice, go to stackhack.com. Otherwise, you get that lifetime access over here at meetkevin.com to all of the lectures on building your wealth. This personalized, this really for everyone. And then, of course, our real estate startup at househack.com.
While this isn't meant to be a comprehensive guide, I'd really encourage you start looking into business expense deductions. And keep in mind, you don't even have to overcomplicate this. People hear this and they think, oh, but then I have to create an LLC and I have to create trademarks. No, you actually don't have to do any of that. On your regular tax return is a section for self-employment income. You don't need an LLC. You don't need a partnership. Generally, what I recommend is get insurance for your business. Call it a day. So, for example, if you're a real estate agent, call up or go to hiscox.com, not sponsored. Go to Hiscox. Get like a $300 or $400 insurance policy. There you go. Don't need an LLC. You don't need anything. Obviously, talk to an attorney and CPA about some of the benefits of that. But really, the key here is, what can you do to keep more money in your pocket? And if you're going to be buying $500 headphones anyway, would you rather spend $500 or spend $700? That's the way to look at it. And that's really important. And there are two ways to look at that. One is you have to earn $700 to have $500 left to spend $500. That's the employee direction. If you're self-employed, most self-employed people do the math a little different. They say, oh, that's $500? Cool. Well, after my tax benefit, it's only like $350. Fine. Basically the same thing, just done in a different way. So what are, again, some things that you can do? Real estate agent on the side, investment advisor on the side, lender on the side. Heck, you could do a coding startup. AI is all the rage, obviously, right now. You'll now start segmenting all of those expenses. Your travel, your Ubers, potentially 50% of your meals and entertainment, your tools, electronics, computers, some portion of your utility bills. There's a fantastic opportunity there. Now, number two, a big thing that keeps a lot of folks poor in America, in my opinion, is the news cycle. The news cycle, especially if we just watch CNN or Fox or the mainstream media, is generally designed to sell us fear. And that's unfortunate. And I know that as a YouTuber as well. I know that fearful titles get way more views than not fearful titles. But what I always try to do in my content is look at realism. What's the most realistic trajectory of the American economy? Do you want to bet against the American economy? And most people are just always obsessed with where the next recession is, where the next big crash is, where the next big failure is, where the next scandal is. And most of the time, we should be focused on what can we do to increase our top funnel? What can we do to increase how much money we have coming in? What can we do to maximize how much of that we have left? And then how many assets can we control? That's going to be our stocks, our bonds, and our real estate. Stocks also being a pseudonym for business ownership. The more businesses you own, the more stocks you own, the more real estate you own, generally the better off you will be in building your wealth in the long run. Just consider that the average net worth of a homeowner is somewhere around $180,000. Whereas the average net worth of a tenant is somewhere around $5,500. This is why I encourage everyone around me, as soon as practically possible, leverage your W-2, your salary, buy real estate. That's actually the beautiful thing about being employed. This is not a video about, oh, you should always be self-employed, because there are definitely big failure points of being self-employed. That's why I think one of the best things to do is be employed and have a side hustle, a self-employment gig, so you get the benefits without necessarily all that downside risk. So that negative news cycle, I think, is one other way that America keeps you poor. It keeps you from investing in that new business idea, in that real estate, or in those stocks. Those are things that historically have always led to building wealth over the long run. Knock on wood that it stays that way. The third thing and third way America keeps you poor is what I call the savings trap. So we're generally taught that you should save money. But Harvard did a fantastic study on this. And money that is sitting in a savings account is statistically 100% likely to be spent. Whereas money that you have transferred out of your savings account and into a stock brokerage account, even if it's not spent on stocks, it's just in the brokerage account or in the retirement account, it's just sitting there as cash, even if it's just transferred over, is nearly 100% not likely to be spent. In other words, the more money we have in our bank account, the richer we feel. And this is why psychologically it's really important to, when you look at your bank account, feel poor. In fact, one of the things that I like to do when I have a lot of different bank accounts, it's a lot of money juggling, I like to take any excess capital that I have and move it into businesses or brokerage accounts as soon as possible. I would rather see my personal account go negative and have Lauren, my wife, text me and go like, hey, why is the personal account negative $50 or whatever? I'd be like, oh, let me transfer some money over. I'd rather that than have this big cushy feeling of excess cash there, because the more you have excess cash sitting, the more you're likely to spend it on things that you don't actually need. Whereas, surprise, surprise, when Lauren's like, oh, no, their personal account just got overdrafted, we must be poor. It's like, exactly. And guess what? We tend to spend less money. Even though we secretly have that money, it's out of sight, out of mind. And that's a beautiful psychological trick. Listen to Harvard. They did a study on it. You don't even have to listen to me. But how does America keep you poor? Convinces you to keep money in a savings account. Or better yet, a high yield savings account. Whatever. You'd actually be better off moving money into a brokerage account that's offering you yields than keeping that money sitting at your bank. You can consider a Wealthfront, a Robinhood. None of these are sponsored. You could go put your money into treasurydirect.gov and invest directly into T-bills if you wanted to, shorter-term treasury bonds. Anyway, keep those things in mind and avoid the savings trap. Number 4, a lot of folks feel that a landlord is going to be your opportunity to have a concierge service in real estate. Oh, I want to be a tenant because if something breaks, the landlord will come fix it. Let me put it this way. As having at peak owned about 25 different rental properties and transitioning to a real estate startup where we're going to own hundreds of rental properties, but personally peaking at 25 rental properties, I have found that the amount of money that I have to spend on rental properties every year as a landlord is relatively low. I usually think if I have to replace a stove once a year, big deal. Cost me $600 or $700, call it $800 with some inflation, and it's not that big of a deal. We're looking at less than $100 per month. And my usual budget for repairs on a property is it's around $200 per month. Now, generally, my properties were more upgraded than potentially other rental properties on the market, but this idea that the landlord's going to come fix everything for you to the standard that you want and replace light bulbs, I think is a misnomer. I think most tenants who've been tenants for a while realize that most landlords won't even go as far as I did in being a landlord. I tried my best to be a great landlord and really take care of the customer, which is the tenant, but most landlords aren't your concierge. They're doing everything possible to minimize their monthly expenditures. So, the idea that you're getting a concierge by being a tenant is nonsense. You're much better off getting into owning real estate, even if that means leveraging your job and putting down 3 to 5%. Don't need to save for 20% down. People get worried about this mortgage insurance. You can get rid of your mortgage insurance once you're at 20% equity, usually within 3 to 5 years for folks, or you can refinance the property in the future. Now, keep in mind, you don't want to go in betting that you're always going to be able to refinance, especially as rates are high now. We're hoping that rates will be lower in the future, but there are no guarantees. But as long as you go in qualifying on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage that you can afford a property, it doesn't really matter how much you put down as long as you maintain your job. What's more important is that you focus on getting into real estate, because now you have the benefits of depreciation, especially when you turn the property into a rental property. You have the tax benefit of living in the property for a homeowner for 2 to 3 years if you want, and potentially selling it with no capital gains at all. That's a rule. It's called the homeowner's exemption. When you live in a property for 2 out of the last 5 years, you pay no income taxes on the gains for the first $250,000 if you're single, $500K if you're married. A lot of people actually flip personal rental properties and never pay taxes with that strategy. They'll buy a place, build equity in it after renovating it, live in it for a couple of years, sell it, do it all over again without paying taxes on those gains. There's some incredible ways to build wealth in real estate. Just make sure you're not over-improving your real estate. That's the biggest way that America keeps you poor when it comes to owning real estate. People over-improve. They think, well, it's my home. Well, I'm living in it. Treat it like it's a rental. Imagine you're your own landlord. Are you really going to put in that wainscoting and that white picket fence? Maybe, but you shouldn't. It's a waste of money. You should really upgrade to the minimum that the entire market bears, which would be about your average rental property grade of a renovation. I don't want to make it sound like minimum in the sense of, oh, you want to be a slumlord. You want to upgrade to the minimum of this is reasonable, it's safe, maybe it's a little bit even above minimum. That's great, but don't over-improve. That's a great way to waste money on real estate, and that is the number one way people burn the investment money they have available. So they buy a home, and then they spend all their money renovating it. That is a bad way to build wealth with real estate. So look at what the rentals in the area are doing and act like you're your own tenant. Best way to invest in property. Last one, number 5. Try to do whatever you can to minimize time wasters in your life. Everybody's looking for more free time. Yet, we'll spend hours going to different grocery stores to get the best prices and use the best coupons. I used to do that all the time. I used to go to Ralph's, but then grapes were on sale at Vons, so I jump over there, and the nuts were cheaper at Trader Joe's. All of a sudden, 3 hours of my day was gone. Now, and I'm not sponsored by them, but I think it's great. You go to something like a Walmart Plus or whatever, where you can get free delivery for your groceries. Buy what you need online at Walmart Plus. Have it delivered to you for free once you meet that minimum order quantity, which isn't that high. It's like 30 or 40 bucks. And now all of a sudden, you're not being enticed by all of the other discretionary items that you could be tempted to buy if you actually went in the store. You're just buying what you need, have it delivered, you minimize your time outlay. Now all of a sudden you could focus on your side hustle or otherwise being more productive. So in my opinion, these are 5 great ways to avoid falling into the trap of how America keeps you poor. If you like this, consider sharing the video, subscribe, check out the programs on Building Your Wealth, link down below, and we'll see you in the next one.
Hey, did you know we now offer licensed financial advice? Take a look on screen here at all of the different things we now offer, but this is a big new offering here. Rather than continuously saying not personal financial advice, we can finally give you actual personal financial advice. At StackHack.com, where you can go to get stacked with StackHack. You can learn more about getting your personal wealth plan from myself as a financial advisor, together with my team of financial advisors, or we could provide you our fundamental analysis on a stock of your choosing. This is licensed financial advice, so you'd actually be signing an advisory agreement with us. And you can learn more about all of that at StackHack.com. My real estate startup, which is launching very soon, is accepting non-accredited investments within the next 30 days. Sign up at househack.com to get alerts from when that's live. And then, of course, here we have a complete breakdown of all of the courses that we offer. There are even a few others that we have, but these are the most popular 4 here, which are full courses on going from zero to millionaire in real estate investing, learning how to manage your properties and actually conduct the right rental renovations. The money that you could save in these programs will likely 10x the cost of the programs themselves. And that's because our goal is to make sure that you're spending money on the right things. The same is true for starting a business or expanding your career as an employee. Both of these in the How to Get SHNT Done Faster with Artificial Intelligence. That's a featured segment of the income course. How to make sure you're most productive, learning about LLCs and insurability and liability and business developing and, of course, providing value. And of course, if you want to learn how to invest in stocks and learn about the psychology of money, Stocks and Psych, which will take you from zero to expert in investing in stocks with the psychology of money in mind. All of these, by the way, come with lifetime access to all of these courses and new content that's added, and live streams that I conduct every day that the market is open. So learn more at these various different links, and we're very excited to offer our new offering here, StackHack.com, which is, for the first time here on YouTube, actual licensed financial advice.